What's up, guys? Hokage Puya here. The Euros are done. I'm sad. You know, the funny thing about international tournaments, I never like the final. Even if it's my own team, Germany, in the final, or Iran in the Asia Cup final, I never like finals because that means the tournament's over. There's no more daily football. You guys, controversial opinion, hot take. My favorite part of tournament football is the group stages. That is my favorite part. Football every single day, back to back to back. That is my favorite part of international football tournaments. I don't care what anyone says. That's my hot take of the day. But the Euros is done. This will probably be one of my last videos on this Euros. I'm going to post my reaction to my group stage predictions and how I thought the bracket and who would be the eventual winners. That'll be an interesting video. I had some good takes in the group stage. I had some awful takes in the group stages as well. And how I thought the bracket would play out. Awful takes. But anyway, we'll get to that in another video today. As the title says, we have to talk about how the Euro final just happened yesterday. Spain won. Congratulations. I'll hit on general points of the game at the end of this video, but I want to talk about how, as the title of this video states, the European final yesterday, the Euros final, massively exposed the Premier League, massively exposed English football, and massively exposed the so-called English talent pool that we're witnessing right now. A massive exposure. The English have a lot to think about. The FA has a lot to think about. Gareth Southgate, these players that are hyped up week in, week out in the Premier League, these so-called English talents, best players in the world, supposed world-class players, they have a lot to think about. When they go on their summer breaks right now before the next football season starts, Harry Kane, Phil Foden, Bukayo Saka, Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice, all have to go home and look themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, am I really world class? Am I really the guy they tell me I am? Because I'm sorry, based on this tournament, these English players are not who we thought they were. They are not who we thought they were. And that's the first point I wanted to talk about. The Premier League has been exposed for their talents. You know, Premier League is the most marketed league in the world. English has the most viewership, all the eyes, all the money. And week in, week out, these guys on the England team, these English players, your Kyle Walkers, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Phil Foden, all these guys, and even Harry Kane up until the move to Bayern, Harry Kane, John Stones, all being told week in, week out, oh my God, you guys are the best players in the world. These English guys, this is the best crop of English talents. All of you guys are world class. All of you guys are amazing. Even Bellingham, who's not in the Premier League, who's an English player, gets that English hype and PR. Bellingham, you're amazing. You're world class. You're the best. You're the best midfielder in the world. But for 7 games at this tournament, we saw Rice was not up to par. We saw Jude Bellingham was not up to par. Harry Kane was freaking off it the whole time. Although I think Harry Kane has been playing with a back injury the whole time, he was awful this tournament. Worst striker of the tournament by far. Morata very close to him. Morata and Kane worst strikers of the tournament by far. Phil Foden, absolutely awful Mr. PFA Player of the Year. Bukayo Saka, who was probably the better attacking player for England throughout the tournament, was still, to his Premier League world-class standards, complete garbage. Complete and utter garbage. And this is the issue. The Premier League, these Premier League players are being... I don't blame the Premier League players. I don't blame Bukayo and Declan Rice and all these guys for thinking they're the shit. I don't blame them for thinking they're these technical players that are world-class and can go toe-to-toe with the world's best technical players. Because that's what they're told week in, week out in England. That's what the English media tells them. They hype them up like that all the time. You're going to fall into that trap. But you saw, against Spain, Spanish football, who probably technically wise, in this century, the 21st century, Spanish football is the number one in terms of technical players, technicians, ball at the feet, control, all those little details of the game, masters of the 21st century, the best nation, 100%. And you saw yesterday, against Spain, a Spain team where, Premier League fans will look at Spain and they were disregarding Spain. English fans and English pundits and, the football shows in England were all disregarding Spain, saying, oh, they have only a couple Barcelona players and Real Madrid players, the La Liga as a whole, they were saying La Liga as a whole is only a 2-team league. The rest of the clubs are crap, and the rest of the clubs have nowhere near the same amount of talent as in the Premier League. But yet we saw in the final yesterday that this Spanish team, is not comprised of a ton of Barca players, a ton of Real Madrid players. Let's go through the lineup. Unai Simon, Athletic Club. Dani Carvajal, Real Madrid. Okay. Lenormand, Real Sociedad, just took the transfer to Atletico Madrid. Laporte playing for Al Nassr. Cucurella, Chelsea. Rodri, Man City. Fabian Ruiz, PSG. Pedri for Barcelona. But Dani Olmo, Leipzig. Morata, Atletico Madrid, just transferred to AC Milan. Nico Williams, Athletic Club. Yamal, 16, 17-year-old kid playing for Barcelona. Off the bench, Mikel Merino, Oyarzabal, Zubamendi. Real Sociedad players. These so-called teams that the English fans say are nowhere near, aren't even mid-table tier in the Premier League, saying teams like Athletic Club and Real Sociedad will not survive in the Premier League. The players from those teams pulled up to the Euro final and they showed the English what technicians look like. They showed the English what football looks like, what passing looks like, what close control looks like, what playing in tight spaces looks like. Dani Olmo, Fabian Ruiz, Rodri, obviously, Pedri, all of these midfielders are better than England's midfielders. Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham can't hold a candle to those people in terms of midfield quality, midfield skill. You can't. That was the biggest thing. The biggest thing you saw, as bad as England's forward line was, the midfield was shocking yesterday. You see guys like Dani Olmo, guys who don't really have much radar on them in the Bundesliga. Dani Olmo, Fabian Ruiz, who was fantastic at Napoli, don't get me wrong, but has gone to PSG, and his first season at PSG was kind of mid. Fabian Ruiz and Dani Olmo have shown up at this tournament and have shown you that they are 2, 3, 4 levels above the English players in terms of technical ability, tight spaces, passing, dribbling, close control. They are superior. They're just better players. But you have English pundits, English media, up until the tournament, always saying, no, Declan Rice is top 3 midfielder in the world. Jude Bellingham is the best midfielder in the world. Phil Foden is just as good as the Spanish players. But the reality, Kobe Mino, I love Kobe Mino, and I'm still on Operation Save Kobe Mino, get him to Bayern. But Kobe Mino, you saw, even Kobe Mino, who I think is the best footballer, Kobe Mino is the best footballer in that England team. Technique and everything. You still saw that compared to the Spanish guys, a guy like Dani Olmo, who's your average, above average Spanish player, that there's a massive difference. There's still a massive difference. Now, Kobe Mino is 19 and he's still yet to develop, right? And I'm sure he's going to get better and he'll eventually get to a true world-class level. But you saw Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham. They can't keep up with guys like that. And you saw the English midfield overrun, embarrassed, running, chasing shadows. Primarily resorting to defensive work because they could not actually keep the ball whenever they won the ball back. The Spanish press, 3 or 4 guys on Bellingham, 3 guys on Declan Rice, losing the ball instantly. Not being able to cope with the press because they're not good under pressure. They're not press resistant. Like, you guys, that whole entire Spanish team might be press resistant. Literally. Their bench, Zubamendi, Oyarzabal, all those guys, Mikel Merino, all press resistant players. But then you have Rodri, Fabian Ruiz, Pedri, Dani Olmo, all press resistant players. You saw in the final yesterday, Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice, Phil Foden. These guys aren't press resistant. Bukayo Saka, he's not press resistant. You press him effectively, you shut him out of the game. But you could not the English could not press the Spanish midfield. And that is because it is a difference in fundamental footballing quality. That is the difference there. And I think that Premier League really got exposed because most of this English team is from the Premier League, barring Jude Bellingham and barring Harry Kane. And Harry Kane, let's just be honest, he's a Premier League player. He's been in the Bundesliga 1 year. He spent all his career in the Premier League. Most of his prime in the Premier League so far. He's a Premier League player. All of these guys in the Premier League that are told they're the best, that the English fans, Arsenal fans, Man City fans, everyone, they tell us they're world class, looked piss poor all tournament. And against the Spanish, wiped off the freaking park. Played off the park. They were shown what real technical ability looks like. And I think the Premier League really got exposed because this English team is mostly Premier League players. It's mostly Premier League players. So I think La Liga there, because the majority of that team, the Spanish team, is La Liga. Bench and starting 11. Majority is La Liga. And for English fans, Premier League fans that say, oh no, we're far superior than La Liga, this and that. what argument does the Premier League actually have over La Liga? Disregard, arguments of popularity, arguments of money and eyes on the sport, or eyes on the league. Yes, the Premier League is number one. But in terms of football, what argument does the Premier League have over Spain? Yes, the Premier League may be faster paced football and maybe a little more exciting, a little bit. But compared to the Premier League, comparing the Premier League and La Liga teams at the club level perform better in Europe consistently and have dominated the 21st century, really. And now at the international level, Spain, who wasn't really on anyone's radar, go to my Euros prediction video in the group stage predictions. I said, don't sleep on Spain. Spain is one of the favorites for this tournament. I freaking said it. Go back to my video like 2.5 months ago. I said Spain is one of the favorites. Before anyone else, I was saying it. So just go back and watch and be amazed at my genius. But Spain, a team that wasn't on anyone's radar, really. No one was really bigging up the players saying, oh, look at all these world-class players. I think coming into this tournament, the average fan, especially English fans, would say, okay, Rodri's the only world-class player in this team. But they would tell you, the Premier League pundits, the fans, the English media would tell you, our team is stacked with world-class players. Pickford is world-class. John Stones is world-class. Kyle Walker is world-class. Declan Rice, Kobe Mainu, Saka, Foden, Kane, all world-class. But at the international level, where's your trophies? Where's your performance in big games? This is 2 back-to-back finals lost. Now, we have to give England credit. We have to give England credit for getting to the final. You could only beat what's in front of you. It's not their fault that France got second place in their group and went on the other side of the bracket. It's not their fault, right? But at the same time, even in the easy route, they were awful. They had to fight back from deficits. They weren't impressive. And I think you saw right now at this tournament that these players are just not it. These players are not what they think we are. They're not what we think they are. They aren't. Now, is that because Foden relies so much on Pep Guardiola's system? Quite possibly. Same with Saka. Does Saka rely on the Arteta system, which is basically another form of Pep Guardiola? Maybe. Declan Rice, same thing. Jude Bellingham, let's be honest, I love Jude Bellingham, guys, and I think it's very hard and kind of cringe when I'm 23 years old or whatever to hate on players that are younger than me. It's cringe, right? And I think Jude Bellingham's a fantastic player, right? But can we be honest? Jude Bellingham has been mid the entire calendar year. Since January hit, Jude Bellingham has not been the same player that he was the first half of the season for Real Madrid. And I may get hate for saying that, but you guys, it's just true. Jude Bellingham, yes, he still had, decent performances for Real Madrid, but he has not been playing at a world-class level for 6 months now. He has not been consistent. Maybe he puts a world-class performance here and there, right? But he has not been consistently putting world-class 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 performances for 6 months now. So I'm actually not surprised he had such a iffy tournament. It's Foden. It's guys like Foden and Saka who people tell me, oh, Foden and Saka, they're just as good as Musiala. They're just as good as Bellingham. They're just as good as Vinny Jr. and even Lamine Yamal. Now, Lamine Yamal is better than these players, dude. And he just turned 17 and just won the Euros and was the young player of the tournament. So England has a lot to look at and digest here. They were massively exposed against La Liga. Their football is falling behind. And if I'm being honest, I think you guys look at the German national team. My German national team, we've been in darkness for 5-6 years now. At this Euros, we showed a higher level of football that England has not shown the level of football Germany showed this tournament in the entire time that they've been making these semifinals and finals. And yes, at the end of the day, it comes down to, in these tournament football formats, all that matters is winning, right? But at a certain point, you need to show that you could play one of the better teams of the tournament and win. You guys, under Southgate, England's best win is Germany round of 16 last Euros. Euro 2020, 2021, whatever you want to call it. And that was Yogi Löw's last tournament with Germany. The changing of a guard. Guys like Matthias Ginter and Gunther in the starting 11 for Germany. Not the strongest Germany side. A side with zero confidence. That's their best win in Wembley against a crap Germany team coached by Finnish Jogi Löw. That's their biggest win. Spain in this tournament alone beat Germany. They beat a Finnish Italy. And I will say Italy was finished and trash, so I don't really rate that. But they beat Italy. They beat Germany, who is probably the equally as good of a team as them this tournament. They beat France, and they beat England in the final, all in one tournament. England hasn't had a run like that. I don't think England has the quality and the mentality to make a run like that. Last World Cup, they faltered against France. And you might even say England's best performance under Southgate was in that France game. But this is where it all comes down to the issue with English football and how they've been exposed. Go back to that France game at the World Cup. That, to me, was probably one of England's best games under Southgate, but they lost. Do you know why? Because they strayed away more from Southgate's more defensive tactics, and they were attacking France, and they got punished by the quality of France. And that game is a perfect example of England is not cut out with these players right now, even to be this attack. England can't play like Spain. England can't play like Germany. England can't play like Argentina. They can't. These players can't deliver it. They can't. And they've shown that. And Gareth Southgate knows that. Yet Gareth Southgate tries to play defensive football, but because of media pressure, because of pressure from pundits, his former teammates, pressure from the entire country, people tell him, no, you're able to play attacking football. No, you're able to do these things on the football pitch with these players. Yet he tries it, and they played well against France, but they lost. Yet he gets the wins. He gets you to 2 finals playing pragmatic football, 2 back-to-back Euros. Yet this is the second issue with the Premier League and English football. The fan base, it's just the fan base, the pundits, the media, it's all BS. They are when someone asks me what's the issue with English football, the players might be overrated in my opinion and this and that. And all those points I've been saying in this video. But I think the number one issue with England is England themselves. Even though Gareth Southgate, you guys, a crazy stat. Gareth Southgate, combining all his knockout stage wins in the Euros and the World Cup, combining all his wins together, he has more knockout stage victories at international tournaments than every single English manager in the history books combined. Do you know how mental of a stat that is? But Gareth Southgate is never able to calmly send out the 11 he thinks the strongest, use the tactics that he has been successful with England. And if Gareth Southgate, say he gets sacked, I think he's staying for the World Cup, right? But say he gets sacked and they try to bring in a Graham Potter to coach this England team to play a sexy brand of football, I would not be surprised that England start getting dumped out of the round of 16, consistently only making quarterfinals max in tournaments, struggling in the groups. Because you guys, these players are great. I'm not trying to hate. I think Foden's a great player in the City system. I think Saka's a great player in the Arsenal system. Declan Rice in the Arsenal system is very good. But at the international tournaments, they're not it. And maybe that's where due to media pressure, Gareth Southgate did not bring his Marcus Rashfords, did not bring his Raheem Sterlings, guys who consistently score for England and give you that dynamic, pacey, direct outlook in attack when you're trying to play a pragmatic style. England is trying to play a pragmatic style with the slowest front line in the world. Saka, Foden, Kane, Bellingham. Sure, Saka and Bellingham and Foden may have some speed to them, right? But that's not the pace you want when you're trying to play pragmatic football and countering teams. But because of media pressure, Gareth Southgate can't call up Rashford, can't call up Sterling because they've had bad seasons, right? Now, rightfully so. I feel like there should be some sort of merit to getting called up to your national team. But if a guy like Sterling, who was England's best player at the last Euros and was really good at the World Cup too for England, it's like the Harry Maguire situation. You play well for England, you get called up. I don't care if you're mid at club. If I consistently call you up for the national team and you score and you deliver for me, I'm going to choose you. But because of media pressure, Gareth Southgate was forced into choosing his Fodens, all these guys, Watkins and all these guys, and leave home the guys like Rashford and Raheem Sterling, who could have been actual dangerous weapons, key cogs in attack for England to break away, playing pragmatic football to break away and counter with speed. Yet because of media pressure and because of the overrated nature of these players and because of the overrated nature of the Premier League and how good the English media and English players and English fans hype it up to be when it's really not. You guys, footballing wise, personally, I think the Bundesliga is the best. I'll put La Liga second. I'll put Premier League third. But a Premier League fan, the English media, English pundits will never admit that. They'll think their league is the best in the world. And that just, all of this combined, to end the video off, all of this combined just converges into a big mess, a big balloon full of delusion. England is on England is in the UK island, and England has surrounded itself in terms of football, the Football Federation, the fan base, the media, and everyone, the pundits, has surrounded themselves in a rounded gate, a balloon filled with delusion. And it's very hard to break out of that delusion because English fans, to hit off last point, they believe they're the best, one of the best nations in the world ever in the world when you only have one World Cup, 3 finals appearances, 2 losses in finals now. Your only World Cup is on home soil. So, huge win for Spain. Congrats to them. Definitely the best team in the tournament. Although, for my German fans out there, I think Germany played. The final was Spain versus Germany, that quarterfinal game. That was the final. If Germany won that game, I think we would be sitting here and I would be talking to you about how Germany is the best team in the world and Euro winners, right? That's what I'd be sitting about. But Spain won. I think they're the best team. I think Germany was the second best team in the end. Like I said, England, yes, they got to the final. You could only beat what's put in front of you, but they were the 6th, 7th, maybe 8th best team at this tournament, and they were in a final, deservingly losing to Spain, showing them a gulf in class, a gulf in quality in terms of technical footballing pure ability. Guys from Real Sociedad, guys from Athletic Club that Premier League fans say are shit clubs, that say are irrelevant. Their players suck. Showing their players from Arsenal, their players from City, the best clubs in their league, a gulf in quality, a gulf in class. It's very poetic, guys. This is Mono Kagepuya. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm going to drop my group stage reacting to my predictions. Again, stay tuned for that. This is Mono Kagepuya, guys.